Branches grow from Abel Bajanda's body, trapping him in a living nightmare. His hands and feet are swallowed by thick, bark-like growths, making daily tasks impossible. After 10 years of suffering, Abel took a desperate 6-hour journey to Dhaka, hoping for surgery that could save him. His wife and daughter wait, hoping he can return whole again. Let us follow Abel's struggle, a fight for freedom or a tragic battle that may never end. The man who became a tree. Abel, now famously known as the Tree Man, lives at the mercy of thick bark-like growths that encase his hands and feet, leaving him unable to live a normal life. But as surgery looms, an unsettling discovery could change everything. To make it to the only hope he has, Abel embarked on a grueling 6-hour bus ride from his village to the bustling capital, Dhaka. For Abel, the simplest of tasks that most people do not think twice about, feeding himself, getting dressed, or even using the bathroom, are impossible without someone helping him. His condition began when he was just 15, but his family did not know it was an extremely rare disease. In fact, it is one of the rarest out there, with only 4 reported cases in the world before Abel. And the thing about this disease is, if it goes untreated, it just spreads. Abel was basically a prisoner of his own body, the twisted branches slowly engulfing him, cutting off his chances at a life. But eventually, his story gained the attention of local media, and with that spotlight, a window of hope opened up.
25-year-old Abel Bajanda has traveled 6 hours by bus from a rural village in Bangladesh to its capital, Dhaka.
For the first time, doctors stepped up, offering a chance at surgery, a chance at removing the growths and freeing his fingers from their wooden prison. If the surgeries work, Abel might be able to use his hands again. Something he has not been able to do for 5 years. Imagine that, 5 years of not being able to use your hands at all. Abel is married and he has a little daughter who is 3. He dreams of being able to work again, to hold his daughter's hand, to be the dad he wants to be. It is not just about survival, it is about reclaiming a life worth living. Abel's journey to Dhaka led him to Dr. Samantha Lawson, a plastic surgeon ready to take on the challenge. This is not just any challenge either. Abel's condition is the 5th known case in history and the 1st in Bangladesh. It is no simple feat for the doctors there. It is like stepping into uncharted territory. The root of Abel's condition lies in a virus gone wild, causing keratin, the protein that makes up our nails and hair, to grow out of control. The only solution? Surgery, and lots of it. Abel had to wait for 2 weeks just to build up the strength for the first operation. The plan was simple but daunting. Cut away the excess growth and try to separate his fingers. When the day of surgery finally arrived, Abel's mother watched anxiously as her son was wheeled into the operating room. It was a make-or-break moment for them both. The very next day, Abel was already showing signs of improvement. He felt a massive difference, like someone had finally peeled away a layer of his struggles. But there is still a long way to go. The doctors predict it could take more than a year of surgeries to fully rid him of the growths. But for Abel, this is the first real glimpse of hope he has had in years. It is the start of a new chapter, one where he might finally get his life back. Across the world in Peachtree City, Georgia, there is another story of a fight against a bizarre condition.
My name is Ashley Carpeel. I am 35 years old, and I was diagnosed with FOP when I was 3.5 years old in May of 1985.
Ashley is living with something that sounds like a scene from a horror movie. Her muscles are turning into bone, piece by piece. Every time she gets a bruise, her body starts forming bone where muscle used to be, slowly locking her in place. They call it fibrodysplasia ossificans progressiva, FOP for short, but really it is like she is turning into a human statue. Ashley is still young, but FOP has already started to trap her in her own body. Her left arm barely moves and her right leg is twisted, so much so that she cannot stand straight. Her spine is rigid and soon her jaw might fuse too. Most people with FOP end up in wheelchairs by her age, unable to move, unable to speak, just stuck. Her parents, Fred and Carol, adopted Ashley when she was just a little baby. She seemed perfectly healthy back then, a bright-eyed, lively little girl who was always in charge, always telling her brother what to do. But then, when she was 2.5, her mom noticed something strange while giving Ashley a bath. It did not look right, and the pediatrician thought it was suspicious too, so they went for x-rays right away. Back in the 80s, hardly any doctors knew about FUP. When they found a strange growth in Ashley's shoulder, they assumed it was cancer. Without knowing any better, they decided to operate to try and save her by removing what they thought was a tumor. They even told her parents the cancer had spread and there was no saving the arm. Ashley's shoulder and arm were removed, a devastating loss for a little girl who had just barely turned 3. But 6 months later, the hospital called with shocking news. It was not cancer. The surgery had been a mistake. Ashley's parents learned that she actually had FOP, a condition that made her body grow bone where there should be none. That mistake had cost Ashley her arm, but now at least they knew what they were dealing with. FOP means Ashley needs constant help every single day for even the simplest things. She cannot dress herself, cannot wash her hair, and even needs help eating sometimes. But Ashley is not letting any of this stop her from living life. Against all the odds, she has even taken up surfing, something most people with FOP would not dare try. One wrong bump could trigger her condition, turning more muscle into bone, but to Ashley it is worth the risk. For her, surfing is a way to feel free. Lying on the board, gliding over the waves, she forgets about the battle going on inside her body. She is hopeful that new treatments might help stop the progress of her condition, giving her a shot at a future that is not completely frozen in place.
My life's a lot better now than it was probably 10 years ago. Life changes and evolves, and meet new friends, and it's not what I expected, but it's a lot better than what I had expected back in the day.
Both Abel and Ashley are fighting battles that most of us can hardly imagine. They are not just dealing with pain, they are fighting for the right to live their lives, to be there for their families, to find joy in the everyday moments that many people take for granted. Abel dreams of holding his daughter with his own hands. Ashley dreams of staying out on the waves, feeling the sun and salt water on her face. As Abel finds hope, another struggle for a normal life begins, this time through music and resilience. Fighting for a normal life. Adrian is a 23-year-old musician, and he's been dealing with a massive tumor on his face ever since he was 6 years old. The growth is made of excess bone, and it just kept getting worse as he got older. His condition is not just cosmetic, it has affected everything from his appearance to how he lives day to day. Now, Adrian has traveled nearly 1,000 miles from his hometown of Chihuahua, Mexico, all the way to Mexico City. He is here for one reason: to finally get the tumor removed. He is here for hope. Adrian's condition is known as polyostotic fibrous dysplasia. It is a big name for a nasty condition that causes normal bone tissue to be replaced by abnormal fibrous tissue. It does not just mess with his face, it can affect multiple bones throughout the body. For Adrian, it has meant years of pain, disfigurement, and countless hurdles in daily life. This trip to Mexico City is the biggest shot he has got at changing his future. Adrian has already been in the hospital for 24 hours, and they are not wasting any time preparing him for major surgery. The doctors have already performed a tracheotomy to protect his airway. It is a crucial step for his safety, but it also means he cannot talk, not even a whisper. It is hard enough dealing with the anxiety of surgery without losing your voice too, but that is what Adrian is up against. Dr. Andrade, the lead surgeon, checks in on Adrian. She knows the risks all too well. The tumor presses on his eye, and the biggest danger during surgery is keeping Adrian from choking, controlling the bleeding, and protecting that delicate eye. This surgery is nothing short of a huge challenge. The goal is to release the pressure on his eye, clear up his airway, and remove every bit of that tumor that is causing him so much misery. It is not just about appearance. If they do not remove enough of it, Adrian will not be able to breathe properly because the tumor is closing in on his airway. Right now, it is a matter of survival. Adrian's whole life hinges on this. He is being prepped for surgery, writing messages to communicate since his tracheotomy prevents him from speaking. The operation is not just about getting rid of the tumor, it is about giving Adrian the ability to breathe and live without constant fear. The medical team needs to make sure he does not choke on his own blood during the process, which is why the tracheotomy is essential. The time finally comes. Adrian is wheeled to the operating room, ready for what will undoubtedly be the biggest fight of his life. Dr. Andrade and her team are ready too. They know what is at stake. It is Adrian's future, his health, his ability to simply live normally. Hours later, the surgery ends. Adrian's face is wrapped in bandages, and the anesthetist starts waking him up. Dr. Andrade stays close by, keeping an eye on every step of his recovery, making sure her patient comes through without complications. And he does. Adrian does not need to go to intensive care, which is a good sign. He is wheeled back to his ward, and there he stays, with his father never leaving his side. Adrian Sr. has been with him through thick and thin, and now is no different. He is always there, keeping watch, calming his son down when he gets scared or wakes up disoriented. It is a tough role, but he is not going anywhere. 2 days after the operation, Adrian is still feeling pretty out of it, but there are small signs of recovery. Dr. Andrade checks in and removes the windows in Adrian's tracheotomy, bit by bit, a step toward giving him his voice back. It is a slow process, but progress is progress. Dr. Andrade also examines the roof of his mouth, which is already healing well. It is a good sign that Adrian might soon be able to eat solid food again, something that has been impossible for far too long. There is still a lot to do, though. Adrian's face needs more work. The skin at the roof of his mouth is healing, but it is retracted. Dr. Andrade talks about needing to add some support to his eye, possibly some grafting to make things look a bit more natural. The next few months are going to be critical. Can Adrian recover fully? Will he get back to a place where he can just be himself again? A month later, Adrian is making real progress. Getting used to eating solid food again and sleeping normally is a big deal. It is these small things that mark a huge change for both Adrian and his father. They have both been through an ordeal, the kind that tests your patience, your courage, and your strength. But finally, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. 3 months down the line, Adrian is up and about, getting used to his new life. The difference is massive. He is even talking about going back to school and planning for the future. He has big dreams, and now finally he might actually have a chance to make them happen. The tumor might be gone, but it has left a mark, a literal dent in his face that will need reconstruction. He will need 2 new cheekbones to balance things out, but he has already proven his resilience and spirit. It has been a long journey, and it is far from over. Adrian's face is not yet where he wants it to be, but he is getting there. What is already clear is his determination, a strength that comes from facing adversity and refusing to let it define you. With his cheekbones rebuilt and his optimism intact, Adrian's appearance will eventually look normal. But more importantly, he will have the chance to live a normal life, something that, for a long time, seemed like it would never be possible. As the weeks turned into months, Adrian found himself adapting to his new reality. The challenges of the past were slowly being replaced by new, smaller obstacles, like learning to speak more clearly as his throat healed or adjusting to the unfamiliar feeling of his face. He had to relearn simple things like chewing properly and sleeping without the fear of his airway being blocked. Despite these hurdles, Adrian's spirit remained unbroken. The tumor's removal had a profound effect on his confidence. Before, he avoided mirrors. Now he could not help but look at his reflection, marveling at the progress. Even with the dent in his face that still needed fixing, he felt a sense of pride. He was finally moving forward. Adrian's father, too, felt a sense of relief. Watching his son struggle for so many years had taken a toll on him, but now he could see a future where Adrian could lead a more normal life, something that had seemed so far out of reach for so long.
Getting used to sleeping lying down and being able to eat solids has been life-changing.
Dr. Andrade remained in close contact throughout Adrian's recovery, overseeing each small but significant step. She knew the road ahead was still long. The reconstructive surgeries that would give Adrian his cheekbones back were yet to come. But she also knew Adrian had already overcome the worst part. The remaining procedures, though challenging, were nowhere near as critical as the one he had already faced. Each visit to the hospital brought more positive news, more reasons to hope. Adrian's friends and family were astounded by the transformation. The young man who had spent years hiding behind a disfiguring tumor was now looking them in the eye, smiling more openly, and even joking about the next steps in his journey. They rallied around him, offering support and encouragement. Adrian began to feel the weight of the isolation lift. He was reconnecting with people he had distanced himself from for years, and it felt good. The reconstruction of Adrian's cheekbones would be the final touch. It was a daunting process that involved using bone grafts and implants to build up the areas that the tumor had eroded. Adrian knew it would not be easy and there would be more pain to endure. But after everything he had already been through, he felt ready. The surgeons would be sculpting a face that Adrian hoped would allow him to be seen for who he really was. A person, not just a medical anomaly. Finally, after nearly a year of surgeries, recovery, and physical therapy, Adrian stood in front of the mirror and saw a version of himself that he recognized. The scars were still there, but they were fading. The shape of his face was balanced, his cheekbones rebuilt, and for the first time in many years, Adrian felt comfortable in his own skin. With Adrian moving forward, a new battle starts in a quiet village where a rare condition threatens a child's chance at normalcy. India's newborn trapped by a deadly twin. In the rural outskirts of northern India, life is far from easy. People here are used to dealing with tough times, and children grow up facing struggles that are just part of their daily routine. But one little girl, born in the remote village of Kandal, came into this world carrying an unimaginable burden. A second head attached to her stomach. A strange and unsettling sight that left even experienced doctors puzzled. Baby Kamal's birth was no ordinary moment. As soon as the doctors saw her, they were stunned. Kamal had a whole extra head connected to her belly, and they were not sure what to do. The first thing they decided was to keep this sight away from her mother, Amlakar. It was not exactly the welcoming scene a mother hopes for. Doctors gave the family the grim advice to take her to the nearest major hospital, a grueling 4-hour drive away. Off they went to the J.K. Lone Hospital in Jaipur with no clue what awaited them. Here, pediatric surgeon Dr. Chetan Sharma took on the bizarre case. He knew immediately this was a rare condition called heterophagus twin syndrome. It is where a deformed or incomplete fetus is stuck to a perfectly normal one. The second head was part of a twin that never properly developed. It had no organs, no life of its own. It was basically a parasitic twin, surviving only by latching onto baby Kamal like some uninvited hitchhiker. Dr. Sharma faced a serious challenge. He knew surgery was needed, but the risks were enormous. Operating on a newborn, especially one with such a rare deformity, meant dancing on the edge of life and death. There was no telling if Kamal could survive such an extreme procedure, but they could not just leave things as they were either. Not with this grotesque addition hanging on to the baby. Dr. Sharma got to work. It took 3 long hours in the operating room to separate the extra head and reconstructing Kamal's fragile little body. After a grueling surgery, they could only hope that the child would eventually recover.
It took about 3 hours to separate the child and reconstruction of the wound.
A year passed and Kamal seemed to be doing well, at least at first glance. She was back at home in her village with her parents, Amlakar and Ramji Lal. From a distance, she looked like any other toddler trying to make sense of the world around her. But lately, her parents noticed something concerning. Kamal's stomach had started swelling again. They knew they had to go back to Jaipur and get her checked out. Back at J.K. Lone Hospital, Dr. Sharma examined Kamal, and it was obvious that something was not quite right. Her swollen stomach told a story of its own. The problem, he explained, was something called exomphalos. It basically meant that Kamal's abdominal wall had never formed properly. The extra head that had been stuck to her when she was born had interfered with her body's development, leaving her abdomen weak and without proper muscle support. This was why her liver and bowels were protruding out of her stomach, something that looked as serious as it sounded. Dr. Sharma had a plan. He reassured Kamal's parents that surgery could fix the issue, but it would not happen right away. Kamal needed to grow bigger and stronger, and that would take about 7 months. Until then, they just had to hold on. For now, it seemed there was at least some hope on the horizon, a glimmer of light for Kamal's long, strange journey. While Kamal's story played out in India, there was another strange tale unfolding in a snow-covered village of Slovakia. 51-year-old Stefan Zolik had lived with a bizarre illness for over 10 years. The quiet village of Stiavnik became the setting for his strange battle. Stefan, a forest lumberjack, had married his childhood sweetheart Amelia, and they had 2 children. Life seemed simple enough until things began to go wrong after Stefan's 40th birthday. Stefan's face started swelling, and not just a little. The growth kept expanding until it weighed an unbelievable 13 pounds. Despite how bad it looked, Stefan refused to see a doctor. He tried to carry on with his life, chopping trees and putting food on the table, but then things took a turn for the worse. He hurt his foot and that injury got infected, turning into gangrene. There was no way around it anymore. Stefan needed medical help. Finally, Stefan came under the care of doctors at Martin University Hospital, where Dr. Homola examined him. The diagnosis? Madelung disease, an illness so rare that most people have never heard of it. This condition causes fatty tumors to grow around the neck, shoulders, and upper arms, creating an almost surreal appearance. The strangest part? Doctors still do not know what causes it. It is not inherited, and it does not seem to follow any clear pattern. Stefan did not know how he got it, but there was no doubt that it had taken over his life. Dr. Homola and his team knew what needed to be done. The tumor had to go. Stefan faced yet another trial, this time in the operating room. It took 5 hours of intense surgery to remove the bulk of the tumor. For Stefan's family, it was a painful time, filled with memories they wished they could forget. Watching a loved one endure so much is never easy, but for Amelia and their children, it was particularly difficult. What would you do if faced with a mysterious disease no one understands? Like, comment, and subscribe if you want more incredible stories and mind-boggling medical mysteries like this one.